What's up, binge watchers? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we'll be talking about the recently wrapped superhero R-rated animated series called Invincible. This is based on a comic book series created by Robert Kirkman, same creator of the Walking Dead comics. And all episodes are now available to stream on Amazon Prime Video. On the surface, this is a story of a typical coming-of-age superhero story for Mark Grayson, voiced by Yeun, as he tries to learn his newfound powers and balance his personal and superhero life. Also add that to the pressure that his father, Omni-Man, voiced by J.K. Simmons, is the most powerful entity on planet Earth. Now, before we continue with this review, I invite you guys, if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do so by hitting that subscribe button. We do weekly reviews of movies and TV shows. And while you're at it, please give this video a like. Now, joining me in this review is my fellow superhero fan, co-host of Hustle podcast in Rappler, Tristan Sinampan. Hello.
Hey, Kev. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Trish.
What's up?
Okay, so you've read the comics, right? So this is going to be an interesting discussion. I hope so.
Till volume 9.
You've already covered season 1?
Most of season 1, yeah.
Okay, that's good. Trish, what do you think about this series?
If you compare any other show right now on TV, it's like one of the most compelling. So I would go and dare say that it's a successor to shows like Game of Thrones, like a show that you'd weekly want to watch. I even posted it recently where I said that the best shows of this year are the animated ones. One being Attack on Titan, two being Invincible. Because these shows have actual stakes. It's life territory for water cooler talk. Like, people could easily talk about this every week, being on the edge of their seats, discussing like what happens next. There's a lot of guessing games. It has very compelling human drama at the core of it. Outside of the superhero action, outside of big bombastic scenes, it's really the human drama between Mark and his family. I think it's one of the best things on TV right now, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Watching this episode 1, I went blind. I didn't see the trailer, so I find it a bit slow. You know, there are some familiar bits here for a superhero story, and that could mean two things. For me, it could be inviting because it's something that I'm comfortable with. On the other hand, it can be something perceived as boring because you already seem to know what this story is going for. And yeah, the character in itself, I would liken Mark here, voiced by Yeun, as Spider-Man. He literally has the same arc here, trying to learn his new powers. He gets bullied and then balancing his teen life. But by the end of episode 1, something really happened involving a lot of carnage, and by that, the show just completely rewrites what I expected from this. So I'm definitely compelled to see the next episodes. If we're comparing it to TV shows these days, I think it's only inevitable that we're going to mention the other flagship series of Amazon Prime Video, which is The Boys, another show talking about superheroes in the modern age. It's very satirical take, though this, I would say, it's less of a satirical take. This one has more heart, which is completely confusing for me because these two things, heart, then there's gore. I find it hard to marry these two things initially. Like Deadpool, you can easily complement that with the crass humor, and then in here, it took a while for me to get a feel of this show, but on an overall aesthetic, it really reminded me of the Saturday cartoons that we used to watch. So I think this will really appeal, most especially to our generation because of the throwback, you know?
I think that's what's a bit jarring, reconciling the gore with the storyline. Just to put everything into context, I think what separates Invincible from a show like The Boys, it's a more cynical take on the genre. Okay, these are the conventions, and let's try to break it. Let's try to show how stupid these conventions are in the real world. With Invincible, it's not like that. If you try to understand Kirkman's agenda, putting commentary with what the big two, DC and Marvel, are doing, grounding it in the real world, but also at the heart of it, it's storytelling with a deep love for the genre. You see Mark Grayson enjoying being a hero. You see him going through the tropes, but also adding a layer of, if this happened in real life, what would be the struggle of the teen? You get to capture the highs and lows of heroics. Actually, the comics are not gory at all. I don't see the amount of violence shown in the show, in the comics. That jarring tonal shifts are not that present. You really get to focus more on the day-to-day happenings in Mark Grayson's life. But that's also another point that I want to highlight. The show has the benefit of seeing the whole picture. Earlier, when you asked me if I read the whole comics and it covered season 1, I said most of. Again, it has the benefit of knowing the end game of the comics. So they're able to sprinkle some details that are not yet in the volume that I'm reading, but will lead up to it. So that's without spoiling things. In a way, the show gets to contract things. They get to tie in things cleaner. It's not like Game of Thrones or the earlier Full Metal Alchemist, which the source material struggled to keep up with the pace.
Mark here, he clearly has a lot of influences in his life. There's his mother, played by Sandra Oh, which is his moral compass. Then he also needs to live up with the almost impossible expectations set by society and sometimes by his father himself, J.K. Simmons. There are plenty of other superheroes here. It very much plays to the caricature superheroes that we already have. Here's the thing, I do like this because the animation is very retro cool, but my worry is I'm not sure if this series will be enjoyed by, say, the Gen Ys, because these days they are so used to unreal looking CGIs and they might look at the show as something that's outdated and maybe cliche. Just as a millennial, I really find this show refreshing. It has heartfelt elements and also with that gore. Once you were able to marry those two conflicting elements, and you can go enjoy the rest of this ride. This is cleared for a second season.
And,
two seasons
season
more.
20.
Oh yeah. We are going to get more chance to learn more from the characters. Personally, I just want to learn more about Omni-Man. There is a hard exterior to this character. He has this stern look, and yeah, I want to peel more of that layers from that character.
Actually, if we discuss Omni-Man, I think I would defend that Omni-Man is one of the greatest current creations in comic book lore. He's such a complex character. But I just want to second a point that you mentioned earlier about the animation. It's not the best looking kind of animation. The frame rate's not that high. It's more reminiscent to me of the animated shows under Adult Swim, like the Boondocks. It's not really high budget animation, but I think the story itself, the voice acting, those are the points that capture. It's R-rated. It's adult geared, so I don't really worry that the kids will not appreciate it because they're used to Pixar CG animated. But again, you're targeting our age. But
okay,
I think our age will find it jarring how this animation, it's not the best kind. It's serviceable, but only a bit laggy. It's like running at, I don't know how many frames per second. Some parts like look too computer drawn, but it's a big hit. It's critically acclaimed. There's a lot of viewers. Maybe they can invest a bit more into the animation for the next seasons. I'm just hoping for animation on par with shows like The Last Airbender or Young Justice on HBO Max right now.
There's still an appeal of that type of animation for me. Basically, what I feel is it's like I'm watching something that's literally lifted from the comic books. They don't really add much effects to it, but I still find it appealing. Now, let's go talk about the voice acting here. I think it's amazing. I think it's the best selling point of the show. A-listers like Mark Hamill, Mahershala Ali. I was watching this on Amazon Prime Video, and every now and then when there's a new character introduced, I would hit the pause button just to know who's voicing who. And to my surprise, wow, this show is really star-studded. So I guess that's the best marketing campaign that they have. Then for the character of Mark here, he has to go a lot of moral dilemmas. This is coming from the mind of Robert Kirkman. So expect something dark, because should he choose to pursue that superhero path, it's going to be a long and hard road. I think the character is well fleshed and well represented in his different facets of life, and Steven Yeun did an amazing job in portraying the nerdy teenager side and also the over eagerness of that as a rookie superhero, and ultimately as a triumphant hero. I think the voice actors did a great job here.
I think what's interesting about Invincible is that when we see shows like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, they try to start strong, have the best moments at the start, build a mystery, have the best set pieces. With Invincible, it's the opposite. But again, it's hard to discuss the show without going to the specifics, because the spoiler, it's embedded or it's deeply ingrained with the whole concept of the show, like what makes it interesting. So I think by the end of things, the culmination, that's when you see the best set pieces, the best emotional beats. With this first season, the best episode is the finale, because it leaves you wanting more, but also ties everything that happened and does it in a way that's so affecting. When you mentioned the voice cast, I think that's something that plays a big role with a story like this. It really needs a voice cast that's able to carry the gravitas of the story. Like I said, the animation's okay, but the voice acting's possibly the best I've seen in a animated show. J.K. Simmons, Omni-Man, who's able to act the hell out of his character. You have Steve Yeun. So I think that interplay between them works very well. And then, like what you mentioned, even the bit roles are those of big names, A-listers. You've got Mahershala Ali showing in one episode. You have Ezra Miller showing in another. It's really a show that got the best talent to provide their best acting.
Also, not to mention that because Robert Kirkman is involved in The Walking Dead, he featured a lot of actors from Walking Dead. And I guess I'm just gonna single out a actor here because I've known this actor can do a lot of impersonations and he's a really talented voice actor. Ross Marquand, the one who played Aaron from The Walking Dead. I am really delighted that he gets to use his talents here because he voiced a lot of characters here. Some are bit players, so yeah.
If you have to talk about other Kirkman creations, I think this show is taking the opposite approach to The Walking Dead because I think alongside me, a lot of people who started watching The Walking Dead dropped off after a few seasons. So what,
Not
because
me.
like I mentioned, Invincible.
Okay.
What Invincible does, it has the benefit of knowing the long game. So they're able to streamline it. They're able to cut out the fat and make things more compelling.
Okay, for Invincible Season 1, this is a nice throwback for the early 2000 cartoons that I've seen. It's been a long time that I've been immersed to this type of animation, so I find it appealing. Maybe I would have wished that it would be more satirical and maybe tone down the violence, but because this is an animated show, it mostly gets away with it. So I'm going to give this Season 1 a 4 out of 5.
I'm more flexible. I give it a 4 to 4.5 out of 5. My only issue is really the animation that could have used a bit more budget. I mean, Jeff Bezos, if not the richest, he's like one of the richest. Like he's number 2 right now. So he could put a little bit more budget into the animation so that it just flows more smoothly. Again, it's hard to go from watching animation that's so fluid, like in Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, and then going back to something more Western with Invincible. But story-wise, all the bits are there. Everything's flow smoothly. So
yeah,
I love the show and we'll be sticking to the next season.
Yeah, for sure. That's it for our discussion of Invincible Season 1. How about you guys? Have you seen this show? Let us know what you think in the comment sections down below. Also, if you enjoyed watching this video, hit that like button and subscribe to us for weekly content. Trish, thank you so much for guesting and sharing your comic book knowledge.
Thanks, Kev. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so thank you so much guys for watching. Until then, see you on the next one.